Hello BookTube, this is Leah Cooper and today is Top 5 Wednesday. Today's topic is books / characters / television shows that have betrayed me. Now I have a lot of strong feelings about this. This list was a total snap to think up, not gonna lie. A lot of these are betrayals that I have been carrying around for a long time, in fact. So let's get started. And just so you know, there are going to be some major spoilers, or there's the possibility for major spoilers. So coming in at number 5 is one from my childhood, and that is the ending to Martin the Warrior. Now this is probably the least painful of them all. I've kind of resigned myself to the ending. If you don't know, Martin the Warrior is a children's novel by Brian Jacques, and it's kind of a prequel to his classic novel Redwall, and it tells the tragic backstory of one of his protagonists, Martin the Warrior, who is a small, heroic mouse. Martin sort of non-explicitly falls in love with another mouse named Rose and works really hard to save her, her family, rescue her father from an evil mouse. In my defense, I haven't read this since I was like literally 10 years old. But, you know, he rescues all of them. He fights an evil cat, dictator Zarina. And if you haven't read the Redwall books, then you don't know that literally at the end of every single one of his novels, there is a tragic death. However, Martin the Warrior was the first book in this series that I ever read, and I didn't know that there was going to be a tragic death at the end of every single one of Jacques' books. So I was completely unprepared for Rose, Martin's non-explicit true love, to die at the end of the book. And it broke my heart then as a small child. And it breaks my heart now. Actually, you know, that was probably one of the first instances of fridging I really experienced in a book. And yeah, I still feel betrayed by it every single time it happens now. Coming in at number 4 is actually The Deathly Hallows by J.K. Rowling. Actually, you know, I'm gonna step back a second and say there are a lot of things in the Harry Potter series that I feel betrayed by. Just yeah. I mean, I will never forgive J.K. Rowling's for killing Sirius or Remus or Tonks or Fred. Okay, that is surprisingly not what I was going to talk about. The thing that I actually felt really like mostly betrayed by is the epilogue. I hate it. And I've talked about this on my channel before. I think the last actual chapter in the Deathly Hallows, right before the epilogue, ended on the perfect note. It was great. I was so happy with the way it wrapped up. And I mean, it's flawed. It's a flawed book, but for the most part, it was good. And that ending just kind of encapsulated everything it needed to encapsulate. It had enough of a callback to previous themes that I felt really satisfied. It was great. And it was such like a hopeful note to end the series on. And then you turn the page and you have that god-awful epilogue. And honestly, the epilogue was literally painful for me to read. I mean, it's cringy. It's kind of poorly written, to be honest. Like, one of the things you notice in several of her early books, especially Chamber of Secrets and The Prisoner of Azkaban, is that there are parts of, especially the first 100 pages of both of those books, that are very awkwardly written, very shoehorned in, usually when she's trying to put in exposition. And you see that happen again in the epilogue, where she's just like shoehorning in all this information. And it's painful to read. I hate it. I also hate it. Like, it's so grossly heteronormative that it's so unrealistic, and I don't buy it because I hate it. Number 3 is sort of tied with number 2. Both of these are television show betrayals, and I feel really strongly about both of them. Maybe one slightly more than the other. I don't know. Anyways, I'm just going to say number 3 is the cancellation of Stargate Atlantis. And this is kind of old, and this is maybe dating myself a little bit, but I was hugely into Stargate Atlantis fandom back in, 2004 to 2008, whenever it was on the air. Prior to that, I had loved Stargate, the original Stargate, but I hadn't really been involved in the fandom for that show. Stargate Atlantis, man, it got me back into fandom. I actually wrote a little bit for it. I did a lot of art for it. I was very involved with it. I found a lot of people who I have since continued to read their work. It was a big part of my life. And I would say it had 5 seasons, and the 4th season was not very good, but they really turned it around in the 5th season. And the 5th season, especially the last half of the 5th season, had some of the best episodes I think they had done in a while. And then they canceled it. And they canceled it primarily so that they could make Stargate Universe. And I remember hearing an interview from Brad Wright, who was the creator slash showrunner for both of these shows, talking about, he was asked, well, what if Stargate Universe isn't good? And what if the fans don't like it? And his response was essentially to say, the fans will watch whatever the hell I create for them, and they'll just take it. I mean, he was a little bit more diplomatic than that, but not really. And that's what he was saying. And that has been burned into my mind forever. I never watched Stargate Universe. I think it got canceled after like 2 seasons because it was crap. I mean, it had a lot of really problematic content in it too. I've never forgiven them for canceling Stargate Atlantis. So yeah, that's number 3. Coming in at number 2 is another show that fucked over their fans and failed. And that is Teen Wolf. I know, I watched Teen Wolf. I only watched the first 2 seasons of Teen Wolf. And in my defense, I started watching it drunk on like a New Year's Day or something. It was like a poor life decision that just became a worse and worse life decision, but it was kind of fun. The first 2 seasons, they're not good. Like, I think that's the thing the show forgot, or the show didn't realize, is it's not a good show. It's really, really, really badly written. Like, it's almost incomprehensible how poorly it's scripted. The acting is okay to mediocre at best, but it had some like terrible, funny, charming moments, especially in the first season. There was some okay stuff in the second season. I really hated the second season finale though. After the first season, they really heavily started queer baiting their audience. And I think if you know Teen Wolf, if you know kind of the drama around it or the fandom and etc., I think you'll probably be aware of this, but they really, really started queer baiting their audience, and they did it to get views. They did it to get votes in various competitions and awards, and fandom played along with them, thinking, oh, finally, this is a show that's progressive enough that they aren't queer baiting us, they'll actually give it to us. But honestly, as someone who's been queer baited by media before for a long time, I was kind of like, yeah, no, I don't think this is gonna go well. And so I stopped watching it, and I'm really glad I did, because they were just queer baiting everyone. They did make the character that they were promising or hinting at making gay extremely straight. And it's just gross. They used their queer fan community to get ahead, and then they left them out in the cold. And now the show's pretty much dead. And that's what happens when you're a total piece of shit to the people who support you. But it doesn't make it hurt any less, you know? So that's number 2. And then the number 1 book that I feel betrayed by is The Hobbit. To be honest, The Hobbit, the plot is not really my cup of tea, but it was fine. I liked the characters for the most part. I was invested in what they were doing. I've never liked Bilbo Baggins, particularly in the books, but it was fine. I read it. You get to the end. I mean, you go through all this drama to reclaim the mountain, and you get attached to all the dwarfs, and you get attached to them reclaiming their homeland. Then you get to the end. Thorin dies. His nephews die. All of the kings who are going, or like all of the royalty who are going to reclaim the mountain are dead. And I won't lie, as a kid, Philly and Killy were kind of my favorite characters because I thought they were really fun, you know, because they're children too, basically. So I was really attached to them. And then they died. And it just felt like, what the hell is the point of that book? I don't think I've read The Hobbit since then. Like, I finished it and I wanted to throw it across the room because it all seemed so pointless. And the movies know better because, I mean, they're not going to rewrite that much of the movie. You know, they're not just going to not kill Thorin Oakenshield. And that's what really hurt, because in the movies, I like Thorin a hell of a lot more than I like him in the book. He's much less of a blowhard in the movie. And so it just hurts even more that he fails. And you really, consciously or subconsciously, Tolkien is kind of a racist. Like, sorry. I mean, I'm not saying he did it intentionally. I saw a great video talking about problematic content and how you literally can't create something as an artist without some sort of bias. And it's not always intentional. A lot of times it's more subconscious, but it will still be there. And there's a lot of bias in those books and the world building, and because he did base the different cultures in Middle Earth off of real cultures from real Earth. And so the way he punishes dwarfs who kind of go through the same trials and tribulations of a lot of the races of men who aren't punished in the same ways, it really smacks of racism. And you can't get away from that, on top of I'm still stuck with what the hell is the point of The Hobbit. I feel betrayed by it. I felt betrayed by it for a really long time. I put off watching the second and third Hobbit movies because I just didn't want to deal with that betrayal all over again. Admittedly, they had their own problems, not related to that, but yeah. So that's my top 5 books/TV shows that I felt betrayed by over the years. What book has left you feeling betrayed? Let me know down in the comments. And yeah, I'll see you guys all next week. Bye.